Despite the huge popularity of the Grisaia series, no one is talking about its latest release, Chronos Rebellion. It combines the characters we've loved from the original, the mercenary girls from the Phantom Trigger series, and even includes a brand new cast to follow. Although, I warn you, watch your expectations. After all, Grisaia Chronos Rebellion started as a gacha game. Now before you click away, because I know you heard the words gacha game and immediately groaned, let me explain. Basically, after shutting down the mobile game, the story itself was ported over to the PC. No game mechanics, no gambling for characters, just the pure story. And it's actually better than you might think. With the exception of the prologue, it feels like I'm back in the Grisaia world, both with all of its familiar eccentricities and brand new highlights. Cast members from across the games finally get to interact for the first time together. Amane and Maki get to bond over being fellow biker brethren, the overly passionate Rena makes friends with the less than sociable Yumiko, we have a meeting of the minds between two people who are quite literally the same person, and frankly, the idea of pairing practically anyone with Michiru is just so strange and unusual.
銃を見せてください。だから欲しい銃を選びたいから。
いや、諦めなさい。
ツンデレは諦めが悪いのよ。
意味がわからない。
あれ？じゃあもう一回言うわね。銃を見せてください。
意味がわからないのはそっちじゃないわよ。
Chronos Rebellion has genuine merit in complementing the original Fruit cast. The slice of life segments further explores their relationship dynamics both with each other and the new characters. Simply seeing how well aware they are of each other's strengths and weaknesses ends up becoming their greatest strength as a team. The girls may not be as strong as Class A, the top of the school and frankly military monsters, but they took down the biggest terrorists in the world, so like I guess that balances that out. And besides, it's not like those skills have dulled any less. Rather, I argue they've grown more. Why else would a high-ranking officer give Michiru access to any firearm? It's the girls' struggle to accomplish their new mission objective that ends up becoming a larger reflection of themselves and everything they've been through. Pretty satisfying overall. There's just one problem, expecting that they would be the main focus. Grisaia Chronos Rebellion is fundamentally a story that further expands Grisaia's counter-terrorist world building. To those that like the Phantom Trigger series, the dozens of us, the main story is pretty solid, actually incredible in some areas. But to those who like the original Fruit trilogy, this will disappoint you. This is action heavy, not romance heavy, although that does come into play. Of course, both stories do cross paths in probably the most interesting of ways. However, Chronos Rebellion is hyper-focused on the brand new story it wants to tell. One focused on Mihama's Class D, D for Deadstock, the absolute worst class in the military force. The only thing preventing them from being killed as soon as they step on the battlefield is their handler Arata, an ex-frontline soldier, and the PET system, an ability-syncing technology. And unfortunately for them, they end up finding a mysterious girl named L, someone linked to the international terrorist group Hadio. So it's up to them to deal with their grand acts of terrorism. I question the madman who approved this mission. And yet, it actually becomes the best possible thing for Class D's development. Remember, the Grisaia series at its core is about mental misfits and adolescent outcasts trying to survive in this world. Mihama Academy is specifically designed to house those outcasts and grant them a better life, even if that means working for the government, as secret on-hire killers. But what happens when those individuals are determined to be useless? Where do the outcasts of the outcasts go? Not only do the students in Class D have their mental hang-ups, they are inefficient on the battlefield, almost ready to be killed or make a mistake at the most crucial step. Serika is terrible at wielding firearms, Flan keeps on hitting the enemy's flank, and even Arata, nicknamed Death Sign, has the Grim Reaper always watching him. A direct contrast to Phantom Trigger and Class A, who are practically invincible, and this becomes the most compelling aspect of their class. They are the underdogs. All of them are constantly growing with each new mission and ally they meet in every chapter. So when they finally achieve those personal victories in the process, either through the pressuring build-up through tense action scenes or the reassuring advice given to them by close people, the payoff is rewarding. Chronos Rebellion takes a while to get started, but is totally worth it if you keep reading onward. Especially as things get crazier and wilder with how many unpredictable variables there are. There's a lot of moving parts, because it seems everyone's got their own agenda. Sure, they may be on the same team, but that doesn't mean they like each other. What makes this even more complicated is that they can't just march on guns a-blazing because they want to. Orders are orders. They must follow them or risk insubordination and punishment. So then what happens when someone orders them to shoot an ally because the top brass decided that killing them was the best option available? Again, everyone's got their own personal agenda, and most of them are willing to turn traitor to achieve it. Even the classes themselves won't bat an eye at shooting their comrades if they get in the way. This makes engagements very tense to navigate, and yet at the same time also being very cheeky when reinforcements or a surprise solution breaks through the deadlock. Where when all hope is lost, it's worth persevering for that chance miracle that your allies that you placed your trust in will save you in the end, which falls in accordance with Chronos Rebellion's other important key element, the pet system and how it builds relationships. The only reason why Class D is able to keep itself afloat is because the pet system allows Arata to share his abilities with the rest of his team. While this does serve to give them that extra boost in strength they need, it also functions as an emotional measure. Their performance is based on their trust in each other, and if there's a problem, it requires them to work out their issues together. Pair this up with deeply introspective dialogue, and those critical moments hit for more impact. That said, this also becomes a very loose excuse for harem rom-com antics. Gotta hold hands if you want to link up, you know, the cheesy anime bits. And of course, some shenanigans are more absurd than others. It's a notable downside when it decides to be cheap with its execution in the first few chapters. Although, over time, I can say those small moments do help relieve the tension and help you grow attached to the girls. They might be military government forces, but they are still kids after all, ones who've encountered far more hardships than they ever needed to face. So is Grisaia Chronos Rebellion worth picking up? Yes, I recommend it, even more so for Phantom Trigger fans. I just want to warn you to temper your expectations, especially if you're expecting the Fruit of Grisaia 2. Those girls are in here with plenty of fun moments, but they aren't the main focus. Instead, may I choose to recommend you a brand new story and characters, equally satisfying and compelling in their own right, as they live in the world chosen by the gun. 4 out of 5 with a seal of recommendation. Now, if you like this, you might want to check out this video over here. And just remember, the power of teamwork and friendship has never failed.